Céad Míle Fáilte.
Are we on mute? Are we?
Hi everyone, welcome to our IRL festival, Brigid's Day, Imbolc and Coming of Spring celebration. We're really excited to have you all here with us. We will first take a moment to acknowledge that we are coming to you from the Haldimand Tract, land that was promised to the Haudenosaunee of the Six Nations of the Grand River, and is within the territory of the Neutral and Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. As we go through our evening together and look outwards towards spring and inwards to within ourselves, we ask everyone to think about how we can be good stewards of this land alongside the First Peoples and walk in harmony with them as community. I will pass it along now to Mairead, who will bring us on that journey.
Welcome. Tá fáilte roith is Misha Mairead ní Bhreathnach. Welcome here this evening. My name is Margaret, and it is my great pleasure to share the story of someone of great significance to the Celtic people. Tonight we remember Brigid, and Brigid embodies the feminine in Celtic spirituality. The Celtic people relish wonder of stories and the guidance of dreams. A spirituality profoundly affected by the beauty of landscape, the powerful presence of the seas, the stars, and the swift passage of the moon across the wide open skies. And so we come to the hearth and our homes, and we pray. May Brigid bless the house wherein you dwell, every fireplace, every wall and door. Bless every heart that beats beneath its roof. Bless every hand that toils to bring it joy. Bless every foot that walks its portals through. May Brigid bless the house that shelters you.
The ancient Celts extolled the role of women in all spheres of life. Brigid was the feminine aspect of the divine revealed in ancient days. The ancient Brigid was often depicted with a knife or a light, the knife that signifies gender equality, a tool for cutting away punishing social, educational, and economic distinctions. The Celts were largely free of such inequalities. Girls were taught alongside their brothers at the colleges and schools attached to monastic institutions. They were expected to fight alongside the men and in important matters in society. High-born women in particular would be expected to exercise the sort of leadership shown by warrior queens. When the knife had played its part, it could be transformed into a flame of light that would start to dispel chaos and darkness of warfare and its attendant plagues. Light dispelled the darkness and called forth life and growth. The ancient Celts worshipped the goddess Brigid, in common with all ancient peoples. Women were grounded in the very matter of creation and thus nurtured life in the essential rhythm of nature. The honoring of the divine in feminine emphasizes the dual aspects of women's nature. She is concerned with the solid and earthy, and in molding the tangible to the needs of family and community. At the same time, she is always close to the unearthly and the other world of spirit.
It's hard to separate the historical Brigid, who died in the first quarter of the 6th century, from the spiritual Brigid, who has the affinity with the mother god of the Celts. What is celebrated today, though, is the deep spirit of the revelation of the divine in an unspoken line from ancient times. That goodness and grace was manifest in ancient days in strong women's leadership. And this gift continues through the manifestation of Brigid of Kildare. Until this very day, in all those who seek light in dark times and places, in those who celebrate the earth and all its creation, and all who embody the best of Celtic spirituality. A spirituality that values poetic imagination, artistic creativity, kinship, and the warmth of the hearth. In Brigid, we have an embodiment that is grounded in the daily life of hospitality, of connection to land and animals, to wells and woodlands, to community and plan. In Brigid, we are called to a deeper connection to the spirit through soul friendship, to honoring the call to a dedicated and holy life, to care for the other, to foster kinship and community, where all belong and are cared for. Where all belong and are cared for. Thank you. Thank you. Brigid of Kildare, born around 451, perhaps died in 525, is one of Ireland's three patron saints, along with Brigid. Along with Brigid, there's Patrick and Columkill. At one point, there was a great debate about whether or not Brigid actually should be the patron saint of Ireland. That didn't happen. It may still happen. Many details of her life, the legends and stories surrounding her, actually are pre-Christian versions of the goddess that was associated with poets and smithwork and healing. But most of what we do know about St. Brigid comes from the life of St. Brigid, written by the monk Cogitosus in the second half of the 7th century. And the life story that's detailed there emphasizes her healing, her kinship with animals, her profound sense of hospitality and generosity, and her concern for the poor and oppressed. In Celtic spirituality, these stories of the saints are not meant to be literal or historical, but rather spiritual, mystical, archetypal, and psychological, with a resonance tied to the deeper part of our souls. In fact, in Celtic spirituality, saints were not ordained by Rome. They were actually lives of ordinary people that reached great holiness by reaching into community in profound ways. So if you notice, if you go to Ireland, that saints are not up on pedestals, they're always on the ground, so they're accessible to people. It's an interesting way of looking at holiness. Brigid's feast day is February the 1st, and Hilary will tell us about that.
Brigid's feast day is tomorrow, but as we know in the Celtic day and calendar, the day begins the evening before in the darkness. On the feast of Imbolc, Imbolc being the old Irish word for bullock, or meaning in the belly, it celebrates new life, still unseen, but stirring in the sheep and the cattle and the belly of Mother Earth. Imbolc heralds the coming of longer and warmer days. At Brigid's feast day, we may start to see the first signs of life after the long, dark nights of winter. We might start to see the seed of the light planted at solstice in the depth of darkness of winter, gradually spreading and pushing its way through the hard soil into the air. You may have seeds to plant in your garden, or you may have received some in your bag. Seeds represent the potential of new life and new growth. The call is to the wild and wonderful outdoor spaces where springtime breaks through the cold and snow, to hold hope for better times. We are called to consider what is needed in these dark times that might hold the promise of new life to come.
Brigid is a good companion on the threshold of darkness and light. The winter is still present, but there is a promise of new life in the coming spring. Brigid is said to breathe into the landscape so that it begins to awaken. Snowdrops, the first flowers of spring, are one of her symbols. On the land, other signs of life, such as trees beginning to bud and hedgerows filled with nesting bird songs, are signs of coming of spring. And in these days, we are called to consider what is needed in these dark days that might hold the promise of new life to come. Brigid, calming and comforting action of weaving across using the natural commonplace materials found on the floor of a very humble abode, weaves a story, and her reassuring presence was the thread to bring solace to those in despair and darkness. When we weave the natural and ordinary in our lives, let it be a peaceful and calming activity for us also.
As you'll see, Celtic spirituality often altered between times of being in community on our spiritual journey by our anamkaras, our soul companions, and times alone in isolation and reflection, from where we return again to community, to be agents of restoration, renewal, and reconciliation. We invite you to take this journey with us this evening to gather with us as soul companions, Anam-Cara, to take what we'll discover and go within, to reflect, and emerge again into community as agents of restoration, renewal, and reconciliation. The Brigid's cross we will weave together will be our own vehicle on this journey, reminding us to take what we hear and see into ourselves. Spending a moment centering ourselves in reflection and readying ourselves to move outward again, radiating out into our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities, what we can draw on from our internal wellsprings. The four-direction cross is an ancient symbol common to many cultures and traditions across many lands. If you have the material, feel free to weave along with me. Otherwise, I'm going to be doing this, weaving for us all. Or you could actually record this and weave at a later time if that's the way you want to do it. So we're going to start off by taking our first strand of willow, and we're going to have it a straight strand. And now let us take a couple of other strands, and we're going to bend those strands, because these are not fresh reeds as would be already growing in Ireland at this time of year. These are dried willows that need to be soaked. So if you bend the willow in two, it'll help. Let us soak in the words, stories, and wisdom shared tonight, taking them to heart, knowing that these words and wisdoms become a part of us, a part that we can offer back into the world. We will continue to weave the parts of our celebration this evening into our Brigid's cross throughout the evening. But for now, we will place down our bent reeds carefully to the side.
I invite you to take out your candles, and if you have a match, that would be really helpful. At this time of year, when the dark nights have settled around us, we remember an older tradition that has relevance to our present way of relation to each other and creation. Celts acknowledge the fireplace as a gateway to the mysteries of the divine, and it was the heart of the home and the family. Brigid's ancient form was a fire goddess who fed the fires of inspiration, of the life spark. In stories, her dwelling place radiates light as if on fire. And Brigid is often depicted with the knife which is transformed into a flame that could dispel chaos and the darkness of warfare and its attendant plagues. Brigid was born of a father who was a Celtic chief and her mother an enslaved Christian, and her life work of reconciling differences is significant. Her light brought peace. Brigid is known and venerated to this day as a strong woman who cherished the home and the hearth, but also was a repository of the fiery light of the divine, symbolized by the perpetual flame at Kildare. Brigid, Abbess of Kildare in the 6th century, located in the central plain of Ireland, a place whose name indicates that her church was in an oak grove, a place that was undoubtedly sacred to the Druids. Here, by the walls of her abbey, a fire was tended by 19 of her nuns, and on the 20th day, Brigid was said herself to tend the fire. And the light was said to have been kept perpetually alight for nearly 1,000 years after her death. Some of us have seen it tended to this day, keeping the flame of hospitality, peace, the divine feminine, and a deep concern for ecology alive for our day. Tonight we honor Brigid's bright light as we seek to rekindle our desire to passionately care about the people for whom there is little welcome in our communities. Join us on this journey of light. And please sing along as you're comfortable as this chant takes hold in your heart. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world.
Margaret, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind unmuting. No worries, we'll be able to help you out.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, if you could speak a little louder.
Okay, sure. Brigid has long been associated with fire, hospitality, and spiritual wholeness. We create a community hearth by the warmth of compassion for those excluded, those abandoned, and those forgotten by others. We invite you to light a light of inclusion by following along with us with your own candle, if you have one. Brigid's perpetual light was tended until the year 2020, when the bishop ordered the flame extinguished.
Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. Soon it was relit. It burned and honored her life and her legacy until the Reformation in the 16th century. During the reign of Henry VIII, it was extinguished again. And the abbey was destroyed and the light was lost. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. In 1996, the flame was lit again in Kildare, the site of Brigid's original foundry. The darkness of ignorance and indifference may well put it out again. But we light it tonight in hope. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, light away, gift us with hope for our world. But the true light that we light is in those who practice hospitality of the heart and hearth, and carry the flame of care for creation and all creatures within their own souls. And Brigid reminds us that within us lies an invincible flame. Have courage, take heart, care for your spirit. Then you will be a light for the world in times of pandemic isolation and loneliness.
Let us take now our reeds, those who have them, and let us take a bent reed, recalling the soul's journey, inward to reflection and back out again towards community. Let us soak in the wisdom of the hearth. Now let us carefully lift our straight reed, holding it in the center. And then we will place the other reed underneath and fold it over, bringing the wisdom into our center. We do it from the bottom. For now, we can take a little elastic band and just pop it there to hold it there.
Deep in your center is a light that calls out to the darkness in the world, holding hope and offering care. How do you attend to the spirit of light that illuminates your life? What warms you? What inspires you? And what gives you hope at this dark time of the world?
As the earth turns, so do I. We'll turn our reeds 90 degrees clockwise and hold the bottom reed. And think of our outward reflections. What area of darkness do you see around you? Is there a person struggling to find their light that you can reach out to? Is there a situation that needs to be brought into the light of our collective awareness? Is there a comment or action that is creating darkness in our community where we can shed new light and gather people together around the warmth of the glow of the hearth of common good? We'll now gently place our reeds to the side, placing it down, facing in the same direction we were holding it, before we travel back to rejoin our spiritual companions, our Anam Cara. Let us reflect on the ways we can breathe life into our intentions to enrich our community.
Oscar. Particular form of monasticism of which Brigid gave leadership to was quite a different form that the European models that came later to Ireland and the other Celtic lands. It was more based on a desert spirituality where there were small gatherings, usually about 12, who chose to live together with a leader who was a spiritual leader, an Anam Cara, who gave guidance and support. And you see this as they lived in small beehive huts with opportunity to gather for some periods of time, but actually kept separate lives a lot of the time. And the leadership was not, as I say, an abbot as a Roman model, but rather the leadership was of a deeply spiritual journey and the nature of that relationship. It was one of counsel based on solitude, prayer, holy reading, and hard manual labor. And Brigid was particularly skilled as a compassionate spiritual leader for both men and women. And in her community, she encouraged that people seek this as a very significant way of being with each other, to cultivate deeper relationships. She is quoted as saying, anyone without an anamkara is like a body without a head. It was seen as important to take the journey of faith in the spirit with a companion and not to journey alone. The leaders of the communities of Glendalough or Clonmacnoise or Kildare took time apart from their community to spend time in isolation on the dark western edges of the known world. And they used these seasons of isolation to reflect and repent and to seek deeper wisdom and enlightenment in order to return to their communities, to be agents of restoration, renewal, and reconciliation. So isolation and community, hand in hand.
Now, let us take a reed and bend it in half, recalling the soul's journey. Let us soak in the wisdom of monasticism. Now let us carefully lift our woven reeds, holding it at the center, and in the same direction as we had them before. Let us bring this wisdom into our center, folding the wreath over the bottom of our cup, like so. We can attach a little elastic band to hold it there.
Perhaps we can ponder that this too is a time of isolation for us to seek a deeper wisdom. What are the questions that are on your heart as you spend much time alone, perhaps, and in reflection? What might be the renewal that you are called to as fruit of this time?
As the earth turns, so do I. Turn your weaving 90 degrees clockwise. Now, what is begging to be reinvigorated in you so that you might be part of the rebuilding of community? Is there someone who you can trust with your spirit that you might make time to have conversations with on a regular basis? We'll gently place our reeds down in the same direction, safely to the side. Before traveling back to rejoin our spiritual companions, let us reflect on the ways that we can breathe life into our intentions to enrich our community.
We're out. Shoot. We're coming. We're just, we lost the, there we are.
Okay.
Okay, here we go with Mist-Covered Mountains.
my head is falling.
Thank you. We invite you now to join us as we go to the water's edge at a special part of this region, the Mellitzer Creek, as we contemplate together the sacredness of water. Brigid is renowned for her wells, and water is a significant part of her spirituality. Oh dear. Where's the sound?
Wells and springs held a reverence.
Oh, my apologies. It would appear that you couldn't hear the video. So let me try that again. The joys of technology. Okay. I'll share sound this time. So if somebody could give me a thumbs up if you can hear it correctly.
Welcome to Mellitzer Creek, a beautiful place in the region of Waterloo, which was home, lived and honoured, worked by the people before us, the Haudenosaunee, the Neutral people, and the Anishinaabe. And we are grateful that we share this land with them today. We are here on the Feast of Brigid because the Celts also perceived the elements of life to be sacred and holy. They perceived them as doorways into this universe and into many universes. The water was a way of traversing between worlds, whether by way of voyages that led out of this world to discovery or out of ordinary reality into a deeper spiritual place. They believed in the healing power of springs and wells. Wells and springs held a reverence in Celtic spirituality. They were declared holy because of their healing power, and animals were prevented from polluting them. In story after story, we hear of the Celts founding settlements, having paid attention to where the animals came to drink. And we too are called to places which are holy and clean, like the beautiful Grand River that we live by. Wells are associated too with the healing powers of saints. And wells particularly named for Brigid were called the Eye of the World, because they were a traverse between this world into the sacred world where we would be held in holiness.
The eye of the great God, the eye of the glory, the eye of the King of hosts, the eye of the King of the living, pouring upon us at each time and season, pouring upon us gently and generously.
Let us go to the water side. Healing waters. All water is holy. All water is sacred. When we drink a glass of water in the morning, it's healing to our organs, to our skin. Water is sacred. Let us always treasure this water in all its forms. Let us acknowledge its healing powers. Let us care for it. Let us mind it. As it runs through our bodies, it runs through the body of Mother Earth. Let us each day remember the holiness of the water. And know that in protecting it, we are protecting ourselves. Frozen on the outside. What a fresh and beautiful morn.
Wells are gathering places for women of the world. Let's extend ourselves as the water carries us to awareness where people gather, particularly in this time of isolation, where our whole self groans for connection. Come to the water. Be taken to places of connection within yourself.
Come to the water. Come to places of connection within yourself. I invite you to pour any water you might have into a bowl or a glass, and let that be your holy well. And be present with your own need for healing. It is customary in Ireland to leave something at a well. A wish or a worry or a fear, a desire or a longing. It is a place to place what you need most. So please pause before this holy well, or the holy well you have created. And come seek what you need. I invite you to join me. Dip your finger in the water and touch the side of your eye, saying, "Bless my eyes that I may have clarity of vision." Touch your fingers in the water again and place it by the side of your mouth, saying, "Bless my mouth that I may speak the truth in love." Dip your fingers in the water one more time and touch your ears, saying, "Bless my ears that I may hear all that is spoken for me to hear." Dip your fingers in the water and touch your heart, saying, "Bless my heart that I may be filled with love." Dip your fingers in the water and touch your head, saying, "Bless me that I may be in touch with my creative energies and the creative energy of the universe." Touch your fingers into the water and touch your feet, saying, "Bless my feet that I might find and walk on my own true path." Brigid, go with us. Oh.
Spirit of the waters, the spirit of the inerrant well, striving with the currents that are also thine, we bless thee. Brigid of deep water, bless thou me.
Let us take up a reed and bend it, recalling our soul's journey. Let us soak in the wisdom of the wells. And now let us carefully lift our woven reeds and hold them in a centerpiece, facing the same direction we placed them down in, if we were careful. And now let us bring the wisdom into our center, folding our reed over the bottom of our four-way cross, the bottom leg. And let's secure that with an elastic band.
And think about what you are thirsting for in your life right now. What do you stand by the well in need of healing and restoration for? What needs healing and restoration within you?
As the earth turns, so do I. Let us turn our cross 90 degrees clockwise, and we're holding it where we've added our new reed. What inner spring of life is waiting to be released in you? The healing power of water is enhanced these days by the use of soap. Let's support our collective well-being by using soap often. Some of you have received a beautiful handmade soap with our wishes for wellness for you and all those you love. Let us gently place our reeds down to the side, trying to remember to place it in the same direction as we were holding it. And again, before traveling back to join our Anam Cara, let us reflect on the ways we can breathe life into our intentions to enrich our community.
There's a story of the young Brigid when she first just chose her dedicated religious life. She wanted to live as a hermit and went to live under the great oak tree in Kildare. And both Her Holiness became such a legendary thing that both men and women came and flocked to that place to be with her. Every evening after dusk, they would go into the laneways and byways and in the countryside and looking for those who had nowhere to rest or had no food, and cared for them. And her numbers increased because she was doing the work of mercy and compassion and kindness. So much so that she built a hospital where the sick were also cared for and used her healing powers to care for those in that community.
No fire, no sun, no moon shall burn me. No lake, no water, no sea shall drown me. Neither arrow of fairy nor dart of fay shall wound me, and I shall be under the protection of Holy Mary and my beloved Brigid.
A large landowner lived close by where she had her settlement, and she approached him for more land so that her community could continue to do its work with the poor. And he, grudgingly, offered her as much land as her mantle could cover or her cloak. Brigid set 4 sisters, one at each corner, and sent them walking out until the mantle covered acres and acres of land, enough for the community's need. And since that time, the Celts have celebrated the Feast of Brigid with tales of the protective, curative power of her mantle. At sunset on her feast day, they would place a mantle sheet or a blue scarf outside their home, knowing that Brigid would hear their prayers and bring healing and protection for all in the house. And this cloth is kept in the house for those who are sick or pregnant or in need of comfort, considered a blessing. If you have one, it's a blessing.
Brigid, in your mercy, clothe me. In your protection, cloak me. In your care, enfold me. In your grace, array me. With your justice, dress me. For your labor, garb me. By your love, envelop me and fit me for your work in our times.
Let us take a reed and bend it in half, recalling our soul's journey. Let us soak in the wisdom of the mantle. And now let us carefully lift our reeds and let us add to the bottom foot. There we go. Taking the wisdom into our center. And again, securing it with an elastic band.
If you have a shawl or a scarf or something to place around your shoulders, consider what protection or healing power you might need in your life. What protection from harm or fear do you need?
As the earth turns, so do I. Let us turn our wreath 90 degrees. Tonight, before sleeping, some Irish people would tie a blue ribbon around a doorknob or somewhere near the entrance to their home. It was a desire for a blessing from the passing Brigid. This evening, we see signs of blue ribbons around the town in support of those working on the front lines in this pandemic. We encourage you to use your Brigid's ribbon as a sign of solidarity in these days. Let us gently place our reeds to the side in the same direction. And again, before we will travel back to our Anam Cara, let us reflect on the ways we can breathe life into our intentions for protection to enrich our community.
And ponder. In what ways can you cloak those near and far with your protection through your good words and deeds? Who can you stand with? What are you standing for? And what actions are you moved to take? It has been said that if the Celtic Church had survived, it is possible that the great fissures between organized religion and nature, widening through the centuries, would not have cracked the unity of Western men and women's attitude to the universe. The gift of the Celtic way is one of respect for the natural world and respect between men and women. The early communities had leadership of strong women who ran monasteries of men and women, of which Brigid is an example. The gifts of women were acknowledged and welcomed. The Celtic Church was rooted in rural community, deeply connected to the land, its produce, and all creatures that shared that space. Water, wind, rain, and sun gave life to seeds and berries and trees and hedgerows. They celebrated the new moon each month and used the stars to navigate over land and sea. And the structure of community which formed those early Christian community and expressions of monasticism was, in the terms used by Matthew Fox, more aligned to the mode of a circle dance than that of a climbing ladder. The ladder model is based on competition and hierarchies, while to dance in a circle is to be close to the ground, egalitarian, self-healing, self-motivating, and self-organizing as this universe is itself. The constant awareness of nature, of the interaction and respect among men and women, and the spiritual world and the eternal presence of God, Creator, is always apparent and seen in Celtic arts. The spiritual as unending and interwoven into every aspect of daily life. As Esther de Waal has put it, the Celts made no distinction between the secular world and the sacred world. They were unable to discern boundaries of where spirituality began and ended. Thus, they felt totally at home in the physical world and in the spiritual world. They felt totally at home, deeply rooted in creation. And our world needs to feel totally at home in creation and in embracing holiness and goodness in all people. We need to connect and fix the brokenness and embrace the fullness of the spirit that Celtic spirituality encourages. We live in the hope of Brigid that we will be brought to the heart and to the hearth to continue to tell stories that bring light and hope to the world. We need to bring hope to the world. Hold it when others can't.
And as we draw on that hope, we will complete our cross together. I have seen many crosses across the screen this evening, as I've seen many fireplaces with the hearth in the home and many candles. I've also seen folks dancing. It's been beautiful to observe. So if you're ready now, for those of us who are completing the cross, and on behalf of those of you who are honoring me to let me complete the cross for all of us, let us take our strand. Let us hold this hope and draw it into our innermost being, into the 4 chambers of our heart. Let's hold it tight at the center. And let our 4 limbs reach out, adding always onto our bottom leg, giving it a bit of a tuck and turning it clockwise. Let us reach out in all 4 directions, to the north, to the south, to the east, and to the west, to bring hope and light to our children, our youth, our adults, and our elders. And let us turn it now again. For the last time. There we go. Bottom leg. And let us hold hope throughout the 4 seasons. We can release where we had elastic bands before. Let us hold hope through the spring. Through the summer months. Through the autumn. And through the winter.
Brigid, you were a woman of peace. You brought harmony where there was conflict. You brought light to the darkness. You brought hope to the downcast. May the mantle of your peace cover those who are troubled and anxious. And may your peace be firmly rooted in our hearts and in our world, inspiring us to act justly. Brigid, you were a voice for the wounded. Strengthen what is weak within us. Calm us into a quiet inner listening that heals. May we grow each day into greater wholeness in mind, body, and spirit as we sing our song. Light away as we journey in the darkness. Light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, gift us with hope for our world. Light away, as we journey in the darkness. Light away, gift us with hope for our world. And now I invite you to hold the light of your hope towards this Anamkara community, these people who have journeyed together this evening to celebrate a woman of faith, a woman of hope, a woman of great light. As Teresa reads this prayer, see how many faces you can see of people you know and send them the deep peace of Brigid.
Deep peace to the running wave to you. Deep peace to the flowing air to you. Deep peace to the quiet earth to you. Deep peace to the shining stars to you. Deep peace of Brigid's well to you. Deep peace of Brigid's mantle to you. Deep peace of the fire of Brigid to you.
Deep peace to each and every one. Sue? Sue?
Hi. Sorry, I just wanted to give a minute for everybody to let that lovely recitation sink in. I want to thank you all for joining us. I hope you feel that warmth from this evening and the warmth of spring coming and the warmth of community. And we're all very much looking forward to seeing you in person sometime when the weather gets warmer. We know it's on the horizon. So thank you again for joining us. We're going to leave you now with a few last words. I'm Mairead, and I believe a song as well to see about. You see you again.
Brigid, we ask you to bless us, Brigid. The doors we open, the thresholds we cross, the roads that lie before us. Go with us and welcome us home. Margaret.
Gawem molta Brigid an Juanilerin an Juanlegachiri Malamish Goleri. Lakran gana lainach, so you found a chire, can not ogrivirin, can not mine armine.
We'll see you again. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.